Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in from across the continent for another very exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. If you're joining us for the first time, like so many of you are today, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And you can catch everything we do on YouTube. So if you want to check out this program in like 3 weeks or 3 years, or like thousands of other programs, literally 4,000 programs, you can head there and do just that. I want to say a special shout out to our Alberta classrooms today. I think we've got most of the province of Alberta joining us to today's broadcast, 885 kids from across the world. So it's so exciting to have you all in, and a big shout out to our Mr. Edwards crew in Fort Macleod and Mr. Alston's crew in Cardston, specifically right now joining on YouTube. Now we are diving back in with one of my very favorite things, which is the Peak Discovery series. We have partnered for years with Canada's mountain parks in Alberta and British Columbia, and these are some of the most special places, not just in our country, but in the entire world. And today, we are going to be featuring a new species that we've never talked about in our history together before, which is the black swift. So if you guys want to check out more about the amazing Peak Discovery series, I can't encourage you to head to this link more. But without further ado, live from Satellite Connection in the field in one of the most beautiful days we've ever had for a parks program, hello, Kelsey, and welcome back to the broadcast.
Thanks, Jesse. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me here today in Kootenay National Park. My name is Kelsey. I work for Parks Canada's Public Outreach and Education team, and I'm pretty excited to go on an adventure with you today. We'll be walking a little bit around the site here at Marble Canyon. We'll be learning about the endangered black swift, and we get to meet one of my very favorite people to work with, Anne Forshner, an incredible wildlife ecologist. But before we dive into all of that good stuff, I have two important points. First, we are actually on a public trail here. So you might see some people in the background, some Parks Canada staff, some members of the public. That's all normal. And then second, I want everyone to take a nice collective breath and appreciate this beautiful landscape and the place that we are in. So I'm going to flip our camera around here. That's possible on my screen. Nope, it's not giving me an option here. So instead, let's put this way up above my head and give you a good look at that incredible landscape. I want to respectfully acknowledge that Kootenay National Park is located within the traditional lands of the Ktunaxa and Secwepemc peoples. We recognize their stewardship of the lands and waters in the area now known as Kootenay National Park since time immemorial. Okay, let's go meet Anne. Now, you will still see me on screen a little bit. You'll hear me behind the camera prompting Anne with questions and making comments, but she really is the star of today's show. So let me see if I can figure out this camera switch. There we go. And we'll get it flipped around. There we go. And here's Anne. So Anne, let's dive into things. If you can introduce yourself and give us a short description of the work that you do.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Anne Forshner, and I am a wildlife ecologist for species at risk of extinction. And I'm really happy to be here with you today. And some of the things that I do are I help protect a species at risk, but I also try to figure out if there's ways that we can try to increase their populations, which means increase their numbers. So those are some of the ways that I work with species at risk. And I study animals that are as big as a grizzly bear to species that are as small as an insect, like a bumblebee. So quite a diversity of species out here in Kootenay National Park.
Right. And Anne, as far as black swifts go, what's your connection to that species and how long have you studied them?
So black swift are endangered. So they're one of the species that I've been helping. And here in Kootenay and Canyon, we've been monitoring black swift for about 5 years. But adjacent to Kootenay National Park is Banff National Park. And there's another colony of black swift. And we've been monitoring that colony, we and partners, for the last 30 years.
Okay, now it's winter time. We are at Marble Canyon. Spoiler alert, we won't see any real black swifts today, but we do have some good props to help explain what black swifts look like. And let's dive into that model of our black swift here and show everybody what these birds look like.
Okay, can everyone see the model of a black swift in its nest? I'm going to assume the answer is
Yeah,
yes. And these are
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
great, Jesse. Awesome. So these are beautiful birds. As you can see, they are a medium-sized bird. They're about the size of a robin. If you've ever seen a robin in your backyard, they're about the same size, but quite different in many ways. They have blackish feathers to dark gray. And if you see one, if you ever happen to see one shooting out of the canyon, they look like little torpedoes. They are so fast. And they can travel at speeds of about 100 kilometers an hour, which makes them one of the fastest land birds on the planet.
Oh my goodness.
So pretty incredible species. And how they can travel so quickly, you can just see part of this bird's wing. And they have a really long wingspan. It's about 17 inches. Should we show that?
Yeah, we have a measuring tape to give you a bit of an idea of what that might look like. Old school measuring tape here.
Old school measuring tape, but this would show you if you're looking for one of these birds and you happen to see them up high in the sky. This is about how wide their wingspan is. So they're really, and they have really curved wings, and you might see a notched tail. And those are some of the features that we use to identify the black swift.
Okay, thanks, Anne. And to give everybody a better idea of what those birds look like in real life, Jesse, can you put up photo 1 and 2, the flying black swift and the black swift on the nest?
Sure can. So we've got our swift on the nest right now. We just showed a picture of them flying. They're just such a beautiful bird. My goodness.
Awesome. Thanks, Jesse. Okay, back to Anne. Anne, what do black swifts do during the day, and where do they sleep at night?
Yes, so during the day, they spend a lot of time in the air and they hunt for insects. So they are what we call an aerial insectivore, which means they hunt insects on the wing in the air. And they like to eat things like flying ants, wasps, flies, all sorts of different types of insects. But perhaps their favorite type of insect are swarms of flying ants that gather to mate. And we scientists call these nuptial flight swarms. And we really don't know much about them, except that black swifts seem to be incredibly skilled at finding these swarms. So that's where they spend a lot of time during the day. And you should know that they can fly at incredible altitudes. So they can fly up to 14,000 feet, which when Kelsey showed you the mountains in this area, these mountains are more like 8,000 feet. Like 14,000 feet is really high. And these birds, that's how high up in the air that they can fly. So they're pretty incredible what they do during the day. So at night, we don't know a lot about them, but we have a bit of information, and it shows us that they go back to their nests in the night, and they hang out with their chick, or they incubate their egg until the morning, early sunrise, when they leave their nest to begin all over again.
Okay, and Anne, we have a model of a nest here. And it's, just in a little Tupperware container here, keeping safe, but we'll take that out and we can show you the nest. I got this out of my kitchen cabinet this morning, the Tupperware container, not the nest. And here it is. Focus in on that. And that gives you a rough idea of the size and appearance of those nests. And then in addition, Jesse, would you be able to share those 2 nest photos on the screen for all the students?
I sure can. So here we are. It's a little tricky to see this one, but it's really neat just to see where they put their nests. And then our next picture is a little bit easier to see how you can see it slotted into the cliff there, just like that. Fantastic.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jesse. Okay, we're going to go for a little bit of a walk so you can see this site, this Marble Canyon area better. We'll follow Anne. We're heading along the trail here to another bridge. It's just upstream. And I'll put the camera over the side here a little bit. You can see some of those steep rocky walls on the edge of the canyon there. And we're not going to go too far out onto the bridge because the snow right now that it's not actually all that safe. And the last thing we want to do is fall over the edge of that bridge. So we'll stay in a safe spot here. but this is a good place, and we can talk a little bit more about where the black swifts are right now, because they're not in the canyon. So where did they go?
Yes. Where do black swifts go? Well, around about in the middle to end of September, they leave. So they don't actually stay here during the winter like some of our other species, like a dipper, for example. Black swift leave, but we don't actually know where these individuals go. We suspect they join other black swift individuals in South America, but we're not totally sure. And then they return in May, around the middle to end of May, to the same canyon, to the same nest, to the same habitat year after year after year.
And is there something particularly special about this place, about Marble Canyon?
Marble Canyon is a really special place, especially for black swift, who really prefer this habitat. And what they love about it here is that it is wet and dark and cold, which one wouldn't expect for a bird, but this is their favorite habitat. They need lots of water. And this canyon, why it has lots of water, is because of rain, but also melting snow and glaciers. So it provides the perfect habitat for black swift to place their nests. And then the other thing that makes it so nice for them is it's got steep walls. So these canyon walls, they protect the black swift from other predators like weasels. And they also give it a clear flight path to fly out of the canyon. They don't really like to have trees around. They like a really clear flight path to give them easy access to the sky where they spend most of their lives.
Okay. And Anne, if we head down the trail here a little bit further, I'm going to see if we can get to a spot where we'll show the canyon walls go under the bridge, and we'll still be in a safe spot here, not too far over the edge. But you can see a little bit down there into the canyon. I'm not going to put our expensive device too far over, but to give you a little bit of a sense of that canyon environment that these black swifts are living in. And Jesse, we also have a photo for a bit more context, a photo of where water is coming from.
Yeah, Kelsey, we've got a beautiful shot right up now of the glaciers going into Marble Canyon. I do want to note your audio is cutting out quite a bit here, so we might need to move back to one of our earlier places if that continues, but I'll keep you posted as we go. Let's see. All right, I'm going to pop back in myself for a second. It looks like we've lost a little bit of connection with our folks in the park. But we can see our glaciers going down to Marble Canyon here. We've got a few other amazing pictures and videos to highlight in just a minute. Maybe we've got Kelsey back. Oh, looks like we're doing better now. Hey. Welcome back, Kelsey. Let's see. Hey, how you doing? Oh. We've lost audio for a quick second, folks. So what I'm going to do is just highlight again. This is part of our Peak Discovery series. We've got a bevy of other programs, some coming up in just a couple of weeks with our folks at Parks Canada, which is going to be really exciting in Waterton Lakes. And this program is going to be on our YouTube channel. So we've still got lots of the program left to go. Hopefully we got them back hunky-dory really, really soon. They just dipped out for a quick second, and we should have them back in just a minute or so. We've got some really, really cool videos to highlight on some Swift stuff and with drones in the canyon there, so you get a sense of the landscape in just a minute. Hang tight for just a minute or so, and we'll hopefully be back with you very, very soon. Give me a quick second to highlight too. What else do we got? If you do want to sign up for any of the other programs too, exploringbytheseat.com and at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, Facebook, Instagram, and all other good stuff. And you can find them all from there. Looks like Kelsey's back, so I can stop telling you about nonsense. Hello, Kelsey. Welcome back.
Hello. Did we lose you there?
You did lose us there, but we highlighted our glacier picture together, and we just ended as we were showing the Marble Canyon and the glacier shot. So if you want to keep us going from there, we are good to go.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Jesse. I think what happened there is we went a little bit too far away from our satellite connection. Let me get a good view here so I can switch over again. We're going to bring Anne back on screen as the star of our show. She was telling us all about this place here, Marble Canyon, the context of where all this water is coming from, what makes Marble Canyon such a great habitat for black swifts. And the next piece we're going to dive into is, why are these birds endangered? So let's flip back over to Anne.
Yes, lots still to learn about black swift and why they're endangered, but two of the key facts that we agree on are that there are airborne pollutants, or like for example pesticides, that have reduced the amount of insects that are available to black swift. So this is a challenge for them. And then the other piece is around climate change. So as the climate warms, we will have less snow from melting snow and glaciers. So this could cause black swifts to abandon some of their nests, but we'll see how they do. We'll see if they're able to adapt.
Okay, and Anne, we'll take a walk back to where our main base is set up to make sure that we don't lose that connection again. And once we get there, we'll talk a little bit about how we monitor black swifts, how we make sure that they're doing okay in our parks, how we keep track of how many black swifts there are. Okay, and how do we monitor black swifts? What does that look like? What sort of tools are we using?
Yes, so some of the ways we monitor black swift are we use our handy binoculars. So 1 to 2 times a year in July and August, we hike along the canyon wall early in the morning, right around sunrise, and we wait till these birds come out of their nest. And if you can imagine, they shoot out of their nests super fast, and so we want to know roughly where the nests are along the canyon. We keep track of that, and then we wait about an hour. And these birds are really interesting because they gather together high up in the sky, where we suspect they're socializing with each other, and we're able to get what's called a high count, and we record that high count on a data sheet that looks something like this.
Lots of different pieces to enter there.
Yes, and we can also, you could use a phone to enter these kind of data as well, but sometimes we don't get great weather, so it's important to have ways to record information when you don't have great weather. So one of the ways that I do this is I have these what are called Write in the Rain notebooks, and no matter what the weather, you can record information with a pencil or a pen so that you won't forget, because it's hard when you leave to remember all this information. So just know that our high count last year was 24 birds, and that was the highest that we've had in the last 5 years. So that's great news.
Yeah, that was such an exciting morning, and I remember that. And Jesse, to provide some more context, we have one photo of a sunrise bird count that shows 2 of our staff members.
It looks so awesome. I wish I were there with you. If you ever need a volunteer to come down and stand there looking at birds in the mountains, I am your guy. I'm so there.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Okay, now in addition to things like binoculars and data sheets, Anne, is there any other special equipment that we've used for monitoring work?
Yes, there is. One of the things that I'll show you today is a drone. I'm sure you're all familiar with drones, but we use drones only in the wintertime when the birds are not here. But specialists come out and try to figure out where the nests are along the canyon walls, because they're really difficult to find. So here is a drone. I'm going to open it up. And this is not the drone that was used during the survey, but it's an example of one just to show you what they look like. But we had a professional drone operator come in and record, do a survey here in Marble Canyon, and their company name is called Raven West, and the pilot is Alex Taylor and his team. So they surveyed this entire canyon for us over a few years. So we now know where all of the nests are, and we can monitor them through the years, because remember, the nests are so important to these birds. They reuse them year after year after year. So it's really important that we protect these nests, and these drone surveys let us have a baseline to understand what's happening to the nests. So one thing I'll add about them is that unless you have a special permit, it's illegal to have a drone in a national park. So anyone using a drone has a permit that lets them use these drones.
That's right. Thanks, Anne. Okay, we're gonna fold up our little drone model here and then take another small walk just down the path here and over to the left there.
As we're doing that, Kelsey, I can play our drone footage if you'd like.
Yes, please, Jesse, that would be fantastic. We have 2 little clips to share.
Awesome. You can get a sense of what it looks like when they were doing this incredible monitoring work, and just what a special, beautiful habitat that our folks at Parks Canada get to be in here before we wrap up in just a second. So if anyone wants these clips too, they're on our YouTube channel. You can check them out that way. We can also send them along if you want to see what drone footage capturing in the canyon looks like. Let's take our next clip too, one more quick one, and then we'll head back to our parks team in just a second. Awesome. I redouble my desire to come volunteer with you anytime. Just say the word. Very nice. All right. So we're in our new locale, Kelsey. Take us away.
We are back with Anne for one last piece here. Anne, you've talked all about the work that Parks Canada is doing to help protect black swifts. Is there anything that our audience can do, our students back home? How can they help?
Yes, definitely. So one of the things you can do is learn to identify black swifts and their nests so that we can avoid disturbing the birds, but also damaging their nests. So like we said, those nests are really important. In fact, they're protected year round. And so another way you can protect black swifts, if you ever become, or maybe you are, an ice climber or a rock climber, and you use special equipment to climb up these walls, it's really important to leave the nests. So not to disturb the nests of black swift or any other birds, because a lot of these species do reuse their nests. And so those are a couple things you can work on. And then finally, if you do see a black swift, please report it to ebird.org or iNaturalist.org. And certainly we at Parks Canada use those data to help inform conservation of black swift and other species at risk.
That's amazing. Thanks, Anne. And in a funny coincidence, I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if we'll be able to zoom in, but if you can't see it, believe it or not, there are actually 2 ice climbers over there by the bridge that are on an ice climbing route right now. So that is a key point, as Anne mentioned, when you're climbing rock or ice, especially in this area, to really be aware of black swifts and how you can help protect them and their nests.
Well,
that is it from us, Jesse, for our presentation, but Anne is here and
well, Kelsey,
questions and chat a bit.
What a spectacular program and what an incredible backdrop. My goodness, again, I can't help it. It's just unbelievable. eBird and iNaturalist, we just highlighted at the end. I really want to stress for our audiences, anyone can download these. They're so easy to use, classroom friendly, and a great way of learning about local wildlife near you, not just for black swifts, but for any other species that you happen to be keen on. So please do check those out. And now we're going to dive in with a nice long Q&A. Again, we've got tons of you in from all over the world. So YouTubers, keep those questions coming in the chat. Our Hodgkin Stewart crew, Vanier, Edgewater Elementary. We're coming to you all live in a second to put on your thinking caps, but we've got a really quick, easy one for you from Mr. Edwards' class in Fort Macleod. And how long do the swifts live until?
How long? So how long does an individual bird live? Is that the question?
Yeah. What's their life expectancy?
Yes, they can live a long time. So around 16 years, as far as we know, which is an old bird actually. So yeah, they've collected a lot of information during that lifetime of all the important places where they catch insects and how to get back and forth between Canada and South America. Lots of information collected during that life.
Super, super cool. And I want to stress, because as humans, we sort of think 70, 80, like a normal lifespan. We're really weird. We're outliers in the animal kingdom. So for something that small to live that long is really impressive. Very cool. Thank you so much, Anne. All right. Our Hodgkin Stewart crew, if you guys want to unmute your mic and come on in, you are good to go for our first live question. Hey, guys. Hello. Hi. Any questions for Anne?
I think raise your hand if you have a question.
Yeah.
Isabel, what's your question? Nice and loud. How do the birds make their nest? What material do they use?
Yeah, great question.
Wow, great question. What they use and what's really important, I'm glad you highlighted that question, because they rely on moss. So in fact, they will not nest anywhere that does not have moss. So remember I talked about how important these wet areas are, and that is a real key feature for black swift. Moss typically likes wet areas, the species that the birds use for their nest. So they build a mossy nest and then a few other little grasses, but mainly moss.
I, have a pretty nice duvet, but moss sounds like a lot cozier next time I make my bed, so we might have to consider that for later tonight. We're going to head to Edson, our 5C Vanier crew. If you guys want to unmute your mic and come on in, you're good to go for our next question. Hey, guys.
We've got a question from Michaela.
Hey, Michaela.
How did they start going extinct?
Oh, could you repeat that for us a little bit louder?
How did they start going extinct?
Oh, how did they start going extinct, or what is their conservation status? Could you tell us a little bit more about some of the dangers they face, maybe?
Thanks, Michaela. Yes. So over the last about 40 years, their numbers have declined about 50%. So as soon as a species starts to decline like that, that's our cue to get busy and try to figure out what it is that's happening to these birds and see if there's things that we can do to help them increase their populations, because in some cases there are. But remember, there's still a lot we don't know about the black swift. So we might uncover some more really important information that we can use to help them. They might also be able to adapt somewhat through time. We don't know these things, but certainly two of the things that are key are aerial, like I talked about pollutants like pesticides that can reduce their insect prey. That's one important piece. And then the other one is, as the climate changes, we will have less melting water from snow and glaciers. So that could change their habitat in the canyon. So we're just not sure how they're going to adapt to these things, but we're gonna do our best to support them as they're adapting to change in their environment.
Well, and I'm so happy you spent so much time talking about just monitoring them. Like, the essence of science when it comes to biology is just being there to witness and see how things are changing, see them over time. And so again, kids, these are things that you guys can do at home in an amateur context. And as you end up maybe like a professional like Ann and Kelsey, you can get out in the field and do this live. But actually just sort of trying to understand what's happening and the changes that are happening go a long way to helping species like the black swift. So great question, guys. All right, Edgewater Elementary, we're heading to BC. Come on in, unmute your mic, and take us away. Hi, guys. Welcome in. Hello.
Hello, I'm no page first.
Yeah, you're good to go.
I'm Paige. How did you discover black swift?
Ooh.
Great question. Well, much like we've been talking about how you can help and reporting your observations. So this was a site that folks knew about and reported their observations at the time, maybe not to eBird or to iNaturalist, but that's how this site was discovered, was visitor reports.
Yep. The more you look up, the more you'll find. Pretty,
Yes.
just keep your eyes peeled, get binoculars, get a camera, and just look up, and you'll be amazed at all the bird species near you. Axel in Mr. Alston's class wants to know, how fast can they fly? Swifts sound very fast in the name. Can you tell us more?
They are very swift, and yes, they can fly super, super fast. That's what actually makes them quite unique when you're out birding. If you like to get out and look for birds, they're very different than, say, a robin that you might see flying around, which is also fast. But a black swift is order of magnitudes faster. So they can fly up to 100 kilometers an hour, which is sometimes as fast as a person, might drive on a main highway. So it is really, really fast for a bird. And that's partly, maybe where their name comes from. And they're very acrobatic. They're very, they're able to move really abruptly also as well, with those sharp curved wings and notched tail. They're incredible aerialists. They spend most of their life in the sky.
One of the coolest things in the world you will ever see is swifts flying around. I've been lucky enough to see that. They're just magical to witness. It's like a sea lion in the water. It's like nothing should be able to turn that fast. It's so cool. So great question, Axel. All right, one more from our YouTube friends, and then we're going to head back to all our live classes for another round. Why do they only appear on sunny days? Can you tell us about their preference for habitat, or is that true, or what's the deal?
Why do they appear on sunny days? That's a good question. I mean, I think there still are lots of things we don't know. So that might be in the realm of we're not totally sure. On sunny days, they are just easier also to see. I mean, once you can imagine on a really cloudy or a smoky day, we've done surveys out in some of those days as well. And some of the birds have actually still come out, even when it's quite wet even in Smoky when we've had some smoke in the air. So I would say that's maybe in the realm of not clear, other than it makes it easier to see them when it's on a sunny day. But also the other thing to think about is, I love this question, is think about what they eat. They eat insects, right? So a lot of insects would tend to be out in the sun when things are a little bit warm. So they're kind of tracking those insect prey as well, so that they get enough food.
I like that we vaguely stumped you. Stumping the scientist is one of the joys of exploring by the seat of your pants. So I'm really glad we got that. Way to go, guys.
Curiosity, it's so important. All these questions are so great. It's so great. What makes the job so interesting? Curiosity.
Certainly does. It's why we do what we do, and we've got many more. So we're going to head to our Hodge and Stewart crew. If you guys have a second question for us, come on in, unmute your mic, and take us away. Hey, guys.
Greeting. How deep in the valley do they make their nests?
Nice question.
Yeah, great. These are really great questions. How deep in the valley was a question I asked myself, actually, when the colleague Alex Taylor was doing the drone surveys here. I wondered how far down or how close to the water they are. And they don't actually nest close to the water. Typically, they nest in about the top third of the canyon. So they've got lots of room from the water, but also from the top. They're not right along the rim of the canyon wall. They're actually down a ways. So they've learned how to find that perfect spot, those ledges where, they're protected from people in a lot of ways, and also from other predators. So yeah, I can't see any nests right here right now. That's where that drone comes in so handy, because the drone can travel up and down the canyon wall and really find out where these nests are.
Some pretty special footage, and I'm so glad we're tying together things that we incorporated into the program into the Q&A. Way to go, Ann. Our Vanier crew, come on back in, unmute your mic yourselves, and take us away with a second query. Hi, guys.
We got a question from Ryder.
Hi, Ryder.
How many eggs do they lay a year?
How many eggs do they lay at a time, Ann?
Oh my goodness, great question again. That's another thing about black swift that makes them a little more susceptible to change. They only lay one egg. So one egg, one chick, and they actually stay with that chick a long time. We call that the fledging period. So after the chick is born, the parents stay with the chick about 7 weeks before that bird actually, well, they stay with it all the time, but the bird itself, the chick, doesn't fly until about 7 weeks, which is remarkable. So there's a lot of investment that goes into that one little egg. And that's quite different from a lot of other birds that lay more than one egg. Great question.
Cool. Awesome. We're going all over the place with these questions. Yeah. You guys are an awesome audience today. All right. Vivian wants to know a question that I'd be shocked if you knew, but I love when we get to do this. How many black swifts are there in Alberta?
Oh, boy.
No pressure.
Well, and interestingly, I'll take this in a direction. So most of the black swifts that we know about in Canada are more in British Columbia. We don't have a lot of black swifts in Alberta, but here in Marble Canyon, we know we have at least 24. And then in Banff, there were just a couple last year in the colony in Banff and Johnston Canyon. You might have read about that in the news. So that gives us, well, I know about for sure 24, maybe 25, 26, 27. And then beyond that, I'd have to look that up, but it's a great question.
We just wrapped up a program on turtles, and we were talking about blue whales in it and the fact that they're the biggest animal ever to exist on planet Earth, and we have no idea how many there are. So it's very tricky to track animals. Landscapes are big. Look at the mountains around Ann and Kelsey here and tell me how you'd find out how many black swifts there are. So this is why it's so important to observe. It's why it's so important to have science teams like that we have at Parks Canada to try and assess and understand these and help protect them if their numbers happen to be going down. So it's a great question, guys.
And we're still looking for them. I'd add to that a little bit, Jesse, that we're still actually looking for black swifts. So even through all these years, you think we know everything. There's so much we don't know. We're still looking for black swift and doing habitat surveys for them in very remote areas. And even last year, I think there was a new nesting site found in Banff. So more to come.
The more nesting sites, the better. I'm so happy to hear it. Edgewater Elementary, you're sharing so many in the chat, but we'll bring you back live and pick your favorite. Come on in BC and take us away with another question, guys. Hey.
My name is Gabe, and why do they make their nests in canyon holes? Great question, Gabe.
Why do they make their nests in canyon holes? And it really is what makes them kind of unique, because it's great question. A lot of people say black swift are more like a seabird, because it's actually kind of unusual for a bird to want to have their nest in a cold, wet, dark environment. That's not what most land birds do. So why in particular these black swift like these canyons is exactly for those reasons. It's cold and wet, and they like that humidity with the moss for their nests, and then they like the steepness of the walls because it protects them from predators like a weasel, and it gives them, they're so fast that it gives them, if you can see, that it gives them a really clear, what we call a flight path out of the canyon wall. They don't actually like to be in the forest like some other birds. They like to fly out of the canyon wall, and they shoot straight up into the sky, where they spend a lot of their lives. So those are a few of the reasons why they like the canyons.
Yeah, I'm with them. I want to go live in a canyon as well, I think, after this broadcast is done. Now, time flies and you're having fun, so we're going to take 2 more questions from online before we do a big wrap-up and farewell together. But 2 quick ones. Lorenzo online wants to know, do both parents raise the chick, or is it only one?
Yes, great question. Both parents raise the chick, and the suspicion is that the parents actually stay together for a good portion of their life. So once they find a mate, we think that they stay together, those 2 particular birds, but both parents raise the chick. It takes a lot of energy. And if you can imagine that little nest, sometimes it's kind of funny trying to see those parents in the nest, because they don't all, and the chick gets to be really big, and the parents have a hard time finding purchase on that little nest, but somehow they all manage to do it. It's kind of amazing to me.
When you're home from school today and you have my plug to do this, ask your teachers, maybe try and get your whole family on one chair together. That's what the swifts are doing in their nests. And if you do that, don't tell us how it goes, okay? Malia has one cool final question. Again, we've got more questions that we can answer at any one broadcast, and I love your enthusiasm, everybody. Malia wants to know, how high can they fly? You got a big mountain behind you. Could the swifts go over that mountain? Do they try and fly that high or no?
Yeah, these mountains are just not, they don't even probably really notice these mountains. They can fly up to 14,000 feet. And these mountains are probably around us. Like some of the biggest ones are probably more like 8,000 or 9,000 feet. So I'll leave you to, work that all out. But they are incredible how high they can fly in the air.
Super, super cool. To me, that mountain looks like an insurmountable obstacle. So for the birds to treat it like nothing is quite amazing. And Kelsey, thank you so much for your enthusiasm for everything today. I want to stress there's so much more to keep the learning going. We're going to pass along a bunch of resources on black swifts and more. Do check out our Peak Discovery series. But is there a final message you want to share with our classrooms before we bring in all our classrooms to say a big thank you and farewell?
I have just loved spending all this time with you all, and I'm so just grateful that you care so much. So thank you, and keep looking for all those birds and report your sightings if you can. And really appreciated being here with you here today.
No better.
A big thank you to Anne. She is a very busy lady. She does so much important work. So it's incredible that she can come out and be here with us today.
I'm certainly beyond pleased to have had the chance to have you on, and our kids are super keen as well. So as we do to end of every broadcast, and you'll be seeing this for the first time, we're going to bring in all our classes to say a big thank you and farewell. If you're at home on YouTube and you want to scream and yell and annoy the principal, you can too. But Hodge and Stewart, our Vanier crew, Edgewater Elementary, thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day. And